How are you today? This is Pastor Peter Christian Hessing. Thank you for joining me today. And I want to pray that God will protect us. We face so many dangers. We just had a mass shooting in Orlando, Florida, where over 49 people have been killed. And it's feared that more people might be killed. Over 53 people have been wounded in a mass shooting in Orlando in a nightclub. This is very tragic, very sad for me because I have a lot of family living in Florida. I have lived in Florida for many years. I have my beautiful sisters, her family. I have beautiful cousins who I grew up with in Jamaica. I have my beloved brother and his family. I have cousins, a lot of nephews and nieces who live in Florida. And I have lived in Florida for a long time. I have a lot of friends here in Florida. So this shooting is a very sad for me. I am hoping and praying to God, Jehovah Jesus, that none of my family or friends have been killed or wounded in this shooting. Yeah, and we definitely have to come together as a nation and as a world. This is a world problem, and all the countries in the world all have to come together and work together to find a solution to prevent this mass shootings and this terrorism that's affecting all of us. There is no single solution or no silver bullet. It is going to take a combination of factors and a combination of efforts by all of us in every single country in the world. In America, we have our next door neighbors in Mexico, Canada, down to Jamaica, Colombia, Argentina, Brazil, Cuba, Haiti, Britain, France, Germany, Africa, Nigeria, South Africa, Somalia, the Congo, Liberia, all these countries do. Germany, Norway, Sweden, India, China, Russia, North Korea, South Korea, Japan, the Philippines, all the way down to Australia. It's going to take a combination of all these countries, Iran, Iraq, Syria, Israel, Palestine, all these countries around the world are going to work together to find a solution. And I think every rational American has to agree that we have to have laws that can prevent weapons, guns, and ammunition going into the hands of terrorists. There has to be some form of laws. The Congress now, they're trying to put together a bill that will prevent people who are on terrorist watches from buying guns and so forth. And that is something that we have to do. We need legislation on all sectors, whether we're going to go back to having more background checks or banning 15 rifles and AK-47s to the civilian population. We definitely need to have some kind of regulation. I'm for the Second Amendment. I think that everybody has a right to defend themselves. There But we have to have a way of preventing these powerful weapons and high-pack magazines, these powerful magazines and ammunition from getting into the hands of terrorists, gangs, drug cartels, and people going in to start even wars. One of the reasons why we have terrorism, a lot of these terrorist groups like ISIS and Al Qaeda, is that they feel that they can get all the guns and ammunition that they want. And as long as the terrorist groups feel that they can get all the guns and ammunition that they want, they're going to want to have these terrorists jihads. They're going to want to go on and have these terrorist attacks here in America, in Europe, there in Iraq, and in Afghanistan, and in Israel and Palestine, all these places. They're going to want to have these terrorist operations in the Middle East and around the world. As long as they feel that they can get this unlimited supply of weapons. So we definitely have to have legislation that will cut off the supply of weapons to the terrorists and to people who are mentally ill, and to gangs, and to drug cartels and so forth are going to kill thousands and thousands of people down in Mexico and in South America. So we definitely need to have legislation. I don't think there's any rational American or rational person in the world that is going to say, well, we shouldn't have any system to prevent these guns and powerful magazines from going to terror. I think everybody can agree on the Republican and Democrat. The Republicans here in America really need to take a more responsible attitude towards, because you can't just say people can go out and buy all the powerful guns that they need and all the high impact and powerful magazines, the weapons that they need, and not require these people to have a responsibility not to go out and kill innocent people. The Republicans and the organizations like the NRA and so forth, they have to take a more responsible attitude. And we can't just have this wild west mentality that people can get all the weapons that they want, all the ammunition that they want, and they don't have a responsibility to make sure that they don't lose control and go out and kill 40 over 40, 50, maybe 100 people, people going to the schools and universities and kill innocent people. I do support the Second Amendment. You have the right to defend yourself, but you also have a responsibility to save lives, to save lives. So you need the Republicans and these organizations to take a more responsible attitude and say, look, if you are going to protect yourself, you also have a responsibility that you don't go out and take that gun and kill innocent people, or going to schools or universities or nightclubs or public places and slaughter innocent people. That is wrong. So Republicans and these organizations have to take a more responsible attitude towards that. It's going to take efforts by pass laws by everybody. There is no one solution here. We're going to have to have laws passed to prevent these guns from getting into the hands of these terrorist groups and people who are suspected terrorists. And also you're going to have bringing together on the religious side, bringing together Christians and Muslims and Jews to come together and condemn terrorism. And the killing of innocent people is condemned in the Bible. God clearly said, thou shalt not kill, in the Ten Commandments. The Quran condemns it. Muhammad condemns it in the Quran and says that if you kill an innocent person or innocent believer, you are punished by God, you're going to hell. It is condemned by all all religions. At the same time, one of the things that we're going to have to start to do is to get the manufacturers to build smarter weapons that can be monitored and recorded and controlled. I'm a patented inventor. I've had a US patent, and I know that there's thousands of technology that you can have. You can put recorders into guns, you can put cameras into guns, you can put phones into guns that allow you to monitor and control weapons. You can put GPS into guns to find the location of guns, and these type of technology can also be put into magazines. You can put phones and phones and cameras also into magazines. There's a lot of technology out there that can be used to monitor and control guns. And I know that the majority of people who own guns are not terrorists, but you have a tiny fraction there that are going to use these weapons for terrorist attacks and so forth, and use it for crime and for drugs and for gang activity. With a very tiny fraction, you can probably less than 1%. So the majority of gun owners are not terrorists, but we have to have technology and surveillance and guideline enforcement of that tiny fraction that we can identify those who are going to go out and kill innocent people. We can't just give in to the wild west mentality and say, okay, well, you can go out and get all the guns that you will, all the powerful submachine guns and semi-automatic rifles and so forth, AK-47s, and stack them up in your house and have all this powerful ammunition stacked up in your house. You can't go back to the wild west mentality and you say that everybody should have an AK-47, everybody should have an ER-15 rifle and stacks of runs of ammunition stacked up in your house. We really cannot go back to the wild west mentality that the organizations like the NRA and these other gun lobbies are talking about. We can't go back to the wild west mentality where people will be out in the street using guns. Everybody has an AK-47, or that's definitely not something we want to go back to. As I've been telling you, I'm a patented inventor. We have designed a lot of systems that we can use to that can be used. And this is stuff that we can do very easily. You know, we can put in. So you have this is like a. So you have here is a gun. I'm not a great artist. This is the no, you can put in, if you start putting cameras into guns, you're going to be able to record. So you're going to be able to record whenever that trigger is pressed in the weapon. You're going to be able to record when that gun is used. Right there. So we can go into, we have to go into the era of recorded and monitored weapons. Here, these are the largest submachine or semi-automatic, guns there that you can put phones and audio into this type of into these rifles that will allow to have audio and video, and you can control having even putting phones, or you're going to be able to have audio and video. You can monitor every time that trigger is pressed. You can monitor who is using that gun or when that gun is being used. You can also have emergency shutoff of these weapons. We're going to have these are these are supposed to be like, let's say you have the AK-47s. You can put in phones and devices in and audio and video that once they start using these weapons, you are going to be able to monitor them. And if you have a situation where these people are in a nightclub and they're shooting nearly 40, 100 people, you're going to be able to realize by monitoring, hey, this is hundreds of shots being fired. This is not out on a shooting range. They're not in a rural area. This is in a nightclub. But you're going to be able to shut off these weapons. I invented and designed some equipment and we applied for a patent copyright on what we call an anti-bullet system that you can put into guns, also put into magazines. You can put all this stuff also into magazines. You can put in a system that will be like a beeper system where if you were able to, you would be monitoring this system and you would know that, hey, this is dozens of shots being fired in a school, it's being fired in a nightclub, it's being fired in a college or university. Something has to be wrong. It's not law enforcement, it's not the police, it's not a SWAT team, it's not the military. And you're going to be able to activate that. And that's what we call an anti-bullet system that's going to release a mechanism, an anti-bullet, that is going to use chemical or substances that will be released inside the weapon that is going to clog up the weapon. You can release a kind of what we call a kind of tar. So you can release a sticky substance, a very thick substance, something like tar, that will clog up the weapon, a liquid or a solid that clogs up the weapon and shuts it down. So there is a lot of there is hundreds of technology that you can use to monitor and control weapons. So we have to go towards an era of recorded weapons and monitored weapons and emergency shutdown weapons. And this is technology that can be quickly put together. You can put these in not only in the guns, but you can put these anti-bullet systems in magazines, because people have to constantly be buying magazines to load these weapons. And if you put them in magazines, this is something you could implement in days or months. So there is tons of technology out there. We have to move to an era of recorded weapons, monitored weapons, and weapons that we can shut off. Now, the military is a different market. Every military has its own requirements. They might want weapons that have lights or microscopic visions, or they might not want weapons that have phones or recorders only. But the military weapons is a different situation. With the army, they have their own requirements. But when you come down to civilian weapons that civilians are going to use, you can have safer technology. We have to have our manufacturers put in safer technology like recorders, cameras, emergency shutoff in some of these high-powered guns, and also into magazines. And if you put them into magazines, you could quickly implement the system. But we definitely need to have, whether we're going to go to a recorded system of weapons or a monitor system. We can't just say, well, millions of people have guns out there, and this is just a tiny fraction, or you got 100 people being killed, or 40 people being killed, or 49 people being killed, or 20 people being massacred in a mass shooting, and that's okay, because it's just a tiny fraction of that. We have to use our technology and either go to weapons that record weapons that are monitored, or weapons that are have emergency shut off, or we can go for ammunition that records, or magazines that records, or magazines that are monitored. Whenever you press the trigger, it is it records and monitors what the weapon is doing. So we have to use our technology in a safer way. Just like the fact that we can build weapons for the military that have systems in them where they can detect roadside bombs or poison gas to prevent our veterans from getting injured. So there is a lot of technology out there that you can use. We can have our manufacturers. I, as the inventor and as a pastor, my duty is to let the governments and the world know where this technology exists. We can put phones into guns, we can put cameras into guns, we can have systems that shut off, we can have anti-bullet system that shuts off weapons, and the governments and the people have to get the manufacturers to make this safer technology. I don't want to monopolize, you know, weapons systems going into. I don't want to monopolize and control, weapon systems that people use in guns and so forth. I really don't want to monopolize that as an inventor with a patent or a copyright. But that is something that the manufacturers, we have to get the manufacturers to do. But there is a lot of technology that is there. And I told you, I've designed a lot of systems that can monitor, record, shut off, apply for copyrights and patents. But I don't want to monopolize that type of system. I just do it because as an inventor and as a Christian, I have a moral obligation to try and save lives and make peace in the world and have make peace in the world. So that's my intention. But there is tons, hundreds of systems that you can put into guns to make them safe. They can have recorded weapons, there are cameras, recorders there. So you don't have people being killed innocently, that you don't have police brutality where blacks being shot down by cops. I've nearly been shot half a dozen times by the police. And they apologize and say, it's a mistaken identity and so forth. So we need to move towards an era of safer weapons, having recorded weapons, monitored weapons, weapons and magazines that we can shoot up. And this can be quickly implemented. We can put these systems into magazines. People have to buy magazines constantly to supply these weapons. So there's a whole lot of technology there. I also told you about that years ago we invented this anti-missile anti-missile drone system. We have to move towards nuclear disarmament. We have to get the Republicans and the Democrats to really come together on weapons. The Republicans have to realize we can't go back to that Wild West situation where everybody can get all the guns that they need, and we want like a Wild West. Forget it. We just can't do it. We have to end terrorism, bring Christians and Muslims and troops together to end terrorism and so forth, and prevent guns from getting into the wrong hands. We told you about this anti-missile drone. Now, this is a very feasible thing that we could build in a couple of days, weeks. It's an expanding missile drone system that expands. It picks up incoming nuclear missiles. And inside here you have airbags that cushion the effect of the nuclear missiles coming in. Here you have power saws. Here you can call laser saws or power saws. These power saws cut off the warhead or cut nuclear missile coming in half. So once you cut the incoming nuclear missile is coming in half, you just have maybe the warhead left here. You can disarm that nuclear warhead. If you can't disarm it, then you're going to have to send it back. You're going to have to boomerang it back. If it came from Russia, you would have to send that nuclear warhead back to Russia. You can't disarm it, you're going to send it back to Russia. If the nuclear missile came from China, you can't disarm it, you're going to have to send it back to China. If it came from North Korea, you can't disarm it, you're going to boomerang it back to North Korea. So these power saws cut off the nuclear missile, actually cut it in half. And this is something that we can easily build. We could probably build this in a couple of days if we get serious. No, and it's not something that, it's not brain surgery, it's not heart surgery. You could build this in a couple of days. You're going to cut off, it's an expanding system, it expands, the incoming missile comes in, you cut the nuclear missile in half with a power saw, power laser saw, or whatever you call it. You can cut up thousands with that power saw drone. You could possibly cut up thousands of nuclear missiles. One saw could cut up thousands of nuclear missiles. Cut up, there's so much technology. One saw could cut up thousands of nuclear missiles that we have here. You cut up nuclear missiles. You could use it cut up. You could cut up ships. You could cut up ships. You could cut up submarines. You could cut up tanks. And that's just one or a couple power saws. We could put this in a drone system. We call it the anti-nuclear missile drone saw system. You could cut up plane, enemy bombers, enemy ships, submarines. Just a couple of these power saw drones could do that. You could cut up an entire military, just enemy military with that. Cut up artillery, cut up enemy bombers, cut up tanks, cut up artillery systems, cut up their ships and submarines. We could just use, and this is just a drone that we could build a saw drone in probably a couple of days that could do this. And you could actually transport it. The advantage with this is that you could transport it. It could be easily transported. It could be easily transported in a suitcase. You would operate it out of a suitcase. You have a computer, but you have a computer. In the suitcase, you have a little computer that you're going to set it up and you're going to target it from a computer in a suitcase. And this could cut up thousands of nuclear missiles, thousands of tanks and enemy bombers, enemy ships. The advantage of this is that you can transport it very easily. You can transport it in a suitcase, in a small suitcase. Everybody knows building drones and so forth. And you could cut up thousands of nuclear missiles with it. A drone saw, a laser high-powered drone saw, just a saw that flies. And you cut up something in water, air, you could do. So there's a lot of technology. I mean, we can have nuclear disarmament. God has given us all this great technology, and we can use it to have nuclear disarmament and end wars and so forth. As I told you years ago, we invented and designed a patent on this expanding system. Here, the patent application was 066955336. We're still trying to get the government to grant us a patent on it, and we have some new patents and copyrights that we're working on. But I would not prevent anybody from building this type of stuff. There I could see if they made billions and trillions of dollars out of it, so they give us some of the money for charity or something. That would be wouldn't stop anybody. The purpose of getting a patent or copyright on this thing is really to let the world realize, and these governments, they're trying to, U.S. government, try to get the U.S. government to realize for 40 years they've been in this type of system. And that's just one power saw that could cut up everything you have out there, any kind of working system. So there's a lot of technology out there that can be used. God has given us all this great technology to get rid of nuclear weapons and so forth. Remember to look for my book coming out, which is the 24/7 Safety Inspection Treaty to save the world from nuclear war and global warming, and also the nuclear missile boomerang age, where enter the nuclear missile boomerang age, where people can send missiles back, send them backwards. You can see they can send rockets this way to the east, they can send them to the west, they can send them north, they can send them south. So once you can do that, you can actually send back nuclear missiles. So it's getting to a point where it is not advantageous anymore to use nuclear weapons, and we have to go towards nuclear disarmament. The next president we get Hillary Clinton or Bernie Sanders or Donald Trump, you have to have a 24/7 treaty that will monitor all the nuclear weapons in the world to prevent nuclear war, have nuclear disarmament. If we have a 10% reduction in nuclear weapons each year, in 10 years we have nearly zero nuclear weapons, and 5% reduction in 20 years we have nearly zero nuclear weapons in the world. So we really don't want any more countries to get nuclear weapons. We have to get rid of nuclear weapons. So the next president we get, I hope we can get Hillary Clinton. I don't like the idea that Trump is saying he wants other countries to get nuclear weapons. That's a very bad idea. We're going to be undoing the entire non-proliferation treaty. If the president of the United States gets it and says, okay, other countries can get nuclear weapons, that's 200 countries going out to get nuclear weapons, and that's a very bad idea. So I think Hillary Clinton is our best choice here to lead us towards disarmament, getting rid of these nuclear weapons, and finally get an international coalition to go after, get rid of ISIS and Mosul and Iraq and stopping the terrorism there. So to remember to look at my book, The 24/7 Safety Inspection Treaty to Save the World from Nuclear War and Global Warming, and my music CD is coming out on Mr. Night Hearts, President Regular Rap Hip Hop. And you can also get some more gospel music by going to Amazon.com. I'm looking for my music, put it in my name, Peter Hessing. So join me again. Thank you for joining me. Let us work together to have peace and stop this terrorism. We bring Christians and Muslims and Jews together as we're all of the same God, Jehovah, Yahweh, Allah. Let us make peace in the world and come together. Thank you, God. It's Peter Christians.